Yo, so I'm back again with another lob Zane, and earlier I shared a build that used the Executor and Calm Cool Collected, and a only using a cryo lob, and it's really good for mobbing and like the slaughter shaft, but it actually has some weaknesses like true takedown. I did complete a run, but it has some glaring weaknesses only using cryo and only relying on freezes for our action skill resets. I was successful, but it was actually pretty tough to complete in that setup. And I felt like just making another Zane build using the lob and what just trying to figure out like what I thought would be the strongest way to run it. So the executor version was the fun way and the out of the meta way. I just wanted to do it for fun. But I think this is probably going to be the strongest way. Now we have sentinel anointed lobs of different elements. I actually have every element. I got one for I got the corrosive one too in case we need it. We're still running a face puncher and keeping a backup cut purse just in case we need to get some ammo. We're using a Seein this time. It does not have ideal passives, but they are pretty good. Splash does help. I would rather it was shotgun, but it is what it is. I would rather have extra playing dirty there, but we don't have it, so we're working with what we got. I'm still using the same icebreaker victory rush. It is a perfect roll for the build. For a lob, area of effect, and shotgun and movement speed, this is literally perfect for Zane lobbing. Icebreaker is still going to be useful because part of the build premise is that we have this Sentinel Cryo. We will be freezing things even with a radiation or fire or shock or corrosive or whatever base element we're using. So if we do a ton of, like it's based, the ASC is based on the card, so that's 100% damage. So this ASE is basically saying that we're using a cryo lob. So it's going to freeze things just as good as my other build did using a cryo lob. It's going to do the same exact thing. So we're going to exploit that in order to use the icebreaker and get a little more damage out of that. And we're also going to run Calm Cool Collected. Since the lob is not a fast firing weapon with a lot of pellets, it's not going to proc Seeing Dead to keep our action skills up quite as good as like a Maggie or just a Redistributor or all the other meta builds do. So we're going to use Calm Cool Collected as a backup, and not only that, this is a shield and health heal for us too. So if we happen to take some explosive damage, those Sentinel freezes are going to heal us right back up. On top of we're taking 2 points in salvation. So yeah, so this is a pretty standard setup for Seeing Dead. You could change some of these points around, but this to me is probably ideal. And then we use some points in borrowed time, just again stacking on making sure that we keep our action skills. It's just a backup plan on top of a backup plan on top of a backup plan. Because again, the lob is not the most amazing at keeping action skills up. So the ideal one, if you're doing slaughter, I'm going to say is going to be radiation because it's strong against shields, it's neutral against health, and the cryo, we're getting 100% of our weapon card damage as cryo, so that's already going to take care of armor for us, and it's also going to be neutral against health. So all around, Rad Sentinel Cryo is going to be your strongest setup. And as you see, we get our Sentinel is going to help refresh our action skills. Just our normal hits are going to be the Seeing Dead, but also we're gonna get freezes. Like right there, we frozen as we killed him. Pretty much everything if I hit my targets, pretty much everything we hit with this is gonna freeze, as you can see. And so we're gonna have that backup of the Calm Cool Collected, and we're going to be getting that bonus damage from the icebreaker. I'm missing my shots. We could be one-shotting those guys if I was hitting them more directly, but it is what it is. So again, just like the last video I did with the executor version, I'm just going to do round 3 as gameplay. This one I think is more fun because you're zipping around at 1,000,000 mph, and while it's a little bit more easy mode, I find it fun to run real fast and spam the lob. I don't know what it is really about this weapon that I actually like, even though it's not exactly very skill based. The only skill in it is making sure you don't blow yourself up, because that can and will happen. The reason why I wanted to make this version of it is because, again, the pure cryo version did have some weaknesses. Like, for one, it's not going to be great for bossing. Like, say I want to go kill the agonizer with the lob. It's going to be better to be using a corrosive one. In this build, I'm pretty positive will be just as strong at bossing as it is mobbing, unlike the other setup. The other setup's just strong at mobbing. So I'm pretty confident that this setup also will be able to do 2 takedown fairly easily, at least a lot better than the other one did. Even though I was successful, it was rough, because again there are some weaknesses. Like, for one, takedown mode has frostbite heavies, so I was forced to actually bring a shock one with me in order to deal with those guys. And the movement speed of this build is going to help deal with things like the better half and the death orbs, whereas the other one I had kind of a hard time dealing with death orbs. So as you notice, with our backup plan on top of our backup plan, we have not even come close to losing our action skills and our kill skills. Everything is proccing. Like, we're safe at all times. I am running a big boom blaster, but it's only because I already had it in my inventory and it has the sentinel move speed anointment. You can use whatever shield you prefer. I'm not even picking up the boosters. I'm hardly even getting shot by anything, first of all, so there's not really any boosters dropping on the ground. But if there was, let's see. That's why I was talking about the potential to kill yourself. But since we just froze some targets, we just got our barrier back immediately on standing up. The Sentinel Cryo just does an amazing job at freezing stuff, because again, like I said, it's when you have that 100% cryo damage based on the weapon card damage, what you're doing is shooting a cryo lob. So it's freezing things just as good as a straight cryo lob would. Now, if you had the cryo lob, well, with the extra cryo, that's going to go ahead and freeze targets that you weren't able to freeze before. Like in the raid, the badasses with a lot of health, they were harder to freeze because their shield was tanky and the cryo was not strong against their shield. But I'm pretty sure I could freeze them with this one if I wanted to. But again, we're in a different setup, so we would just use the radiation, or we would just pull out the shock one to deal with those hefty shields. You know what I'm saying? So this is just another way to run it. Have fun, enjoy if you use it.